Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. It is free to follow me. Free to follow me on this channel, Anonymous Tea. Free to follow me on my other channel, Anonymous Tea Podcast. There is new content over there. Follow me on the Tickety Talk at Anonymous Tea Podcast. Free to follow me on the Instagram. On the Instagram is at AnonymousRealityT. Free to share everywhere. Free to like the video so it gets out to the algorithm. Free to share with your family, your friends, and your foes, and coming or going, hit the like button. So today we got to talk about the fact that the U.S. government has shut down. And here is what y'all need to know, you guys. So both the Republican and Democratic proposals that would have funded the government past Tuesday failed in the Senate during the 11th hour, effectively shutting down the government at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday. The federal government ran out of money after a Democratic-backed spending bill that would have extended healthcare subsidies under the Affordable Care Act and reverse cuts up to Medicaid failed, as well as the GOP-backed stopgap funding measure that would have funded the government for 7 weeks also failed. Following the two failed votes Tuesday, the White House Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought told federal agencies they should now execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urged Republicans to come to the negotiating table after the upper chamber failed to pass a measure to avert a government shutdown. We want to sit down and negotiate, but the Republicans can't do it in their partisan way where they just say it's our way or the highway, Schumer said in a news conference following Senate's votes Tuesday night. The Senate is expected to vote again on Wednesday, likely the same two-day measures that failed Tuesday. 45 and 47 and a bipartisan group of congressional leaders met at the White House on Monday afternoon to attempt to avoid the looming shutdown. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing, Vice President J.D. Vance said following that meeting. Congressional Democrats are refusing to give Republicans the votes that they need to pass a short-term funding agreement, demanding overhauls to Medicaid cuts and extensions to healthcare tax credits that Republicans don't want to touch. There have been since the 1977 fiscal year 20 funding gaps, some for as short as a day, marking Wednesday's shutdown the 21st. The last shutdown began in December 2018 during 45 and 47's first term and was the longest shutdown in history, 35 days. During that shutdown, some of the federal workers began showing up at food banks and many essential workers began to call in sick. Union officials said many of them couldn't afford the child care or the gas needed to get to work. By the time the government reopened in January 2019, about $3 billion in U.S. economic activity evaporated, never to be recovered, you guys. And that was according to the Congressional Budget Office. Agencies have been slow over the past few days to release contingency plans, but some have warned of potential effects. Millions will be without pay. During the shutdown, as many as 4 million federal employees, including some service members, could go without a paycheck. Hundreds of thousands, including airport security officers, air traffic controllers, and certain members of the military will be deemed essential workers and told to come to work anyway. ICE agents will also go without pay. National parks could lose, and the Smithsonian museums also typically close within a few days. Roughly 2 million troops could be forced to work without pay, including hundreds of members of the National Guard that Trump has deployed to U.S. cities. Federal contractors, including hourly workers such as janitors and security guards, are not required to work and are also not guaranteed back pay. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill will continue to get paid their $174,000 annual salaries. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid continue to be distributed, though there can be slowdowns. The FDA cannot ensure that the meat, milk, and eggs of livestock are safe for people to eat. The Office of Management and Budget has not yet given a new estimate of how many federal workers are expected to go without pay or be furloughed if a shutdown were to happen this time around. However, OMB Director Russ Vought has threatened mass firings, reductions in force, RIFs, would be a drastic escalation from the fallout of past shutdowns. Democrats have called this an intimidation tactic. It's just not workers and around Washington, D.C. who will feel the impacts. At least 85% of workers operate outside of the city. Think federal prisons, courts, national parks, etc. The Pentagon's contingency plan. Some 2 million troops, including hundreds of National Guard members, deployed to U.S. cities as part of 45 and 47's crackdown on crime, could be forced to work without pay next month due to the government shutting down without passing legislation to spare service members. Most military personnel are on track to be paid October 1st, officials said Monday, but after that, troops would be at the mercy of negotiations on Capitol Hill, which remains at a stalemate. If Congress can't reach a deal early in the month to spare the troops as it's done in the past, Defense Department personnel will be forced to go without pay for what appears to be the first time in decades. In 2018, Coast Guard personnel went without pay as employees of the Department of Homeland Security. According to a contingency plan posted by the Pentagon over the weekend, all active duty troops will be required to keep working. The plan states contracts can move forward too, but under increased scrutiny with priority given to efforts to secure the U.S. southern border and build 45 and 47's U.S. missile shield, known as the Golden Dome. Middle East operations, depot maintenance, shipbuilding, and critical munitions are also identified as priorities. The department will continue to defend the nation and conduct ongoing military operations, the plan states. Military personnel on active duty, including reserve component personnel on federal active duty, will continue to report for duty and carry out assigned duties, the document later adds. All federal employees are guaranteed back pay under the law once government spending resumes. During past shutdowns, some federal personnel struggled to continue reporting to work without the steady cash flow that could be used to pay for gas and childcare. About 25% of military families experience food insecurity, which is really a symptom of their broader financial stress, and about 25% of military families also report having less than $500 in savings, according to the National Military Family Association. National Guard troops may work without pay. National Guard troops deployed to D.C., Oregon, and Tennessee would be potentially have to work without pay, even if they were under command of their governors. Under the laws mobilizing them, known as Title 10 and Title 32, the missions are federally funded. The task force overseeing the National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. said last week that it was aware of the potential lapse in funding and referred to questions to the Pentagon, which hasn't announced yet whether the Guard deployments would be deemed expected activity, meaning that it's critical enough to the nation's security. According to the task force, Guard personnel deployed to the nation's capital have cleared trash, spread mulch, and painted fences, pruned trees, and packaged food. National Guard members supporting JTFDC will continue to execute their current mission, and our current commitment to the welfare and safety of the D.C. residents is resolute. The D.C. Guard Task Force wrote in a statement last week. There was speculation that the military leaders who traveled from around the world to hear 45 and 47 and have talk about the importance of embracing a warrior ethos. According to government guidance, personnel must return home as soon as possible if a shutdown occurs while on work travel. The travel costs are reimbursable. However, it is possible they might have to wait to be reimbursed until after the shutdown is over. How travel in the TSA may be affected. Transportation Security Administration workers at airport checkpoints around the country would be expected to continue to work without pay during the shutdown. According to Department of Homeland Security documents, 58,488 employees out of the total TSA workforce of 61,475 employees would be retained during the shutdown. Commercial flights would continue to operate and airline employees would not be impacted. Over 13,000 air traffic controllers would continue to work without pay during the shutdown. According to the shutdown plan, the only controllers who would be furloughed would be those who are not certified and are in on-the-job training. During the 2019 shutdown, which lasted for 35 days, TSA officers called out of work in an increased rate due to financial hardship. A TSA spokesperson told ABC News at the time, the staffing shortages caused some TSA lines to close, which led to increased wait times for passengers to get through to security. ABC News reported at the time that air traffic controllers called out sick at the centers in New York, D.C., Jacksonville, leading to a staffing-related ground stop at LaGuardia Airport and flight delays at New York and Florida airports. Hours after flights were halted, the shutdown ended. How Health and Human Services might be affected. At the Department of Health and Human Services, about 59% of employees would be kept on during the shutdown. The rest would be furloughed. Of the 47,257 who are being kept on during the shutdown, around 35,000 would continue to be paid, while around 12,000 would work without pay. About 32,460 HHS employees will be furloughed, meaning they won't work and they won't be paid. The percentage of staff that would be furloughed would vary by agency. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention would expect it to keep only 36% of employees on, including 15% who would be asked to work without pay. At the Food and Drug Administration, some 86% of employees would continue working, including about 19% who would be asked to work without pay. Notably, the FDA's Animal Drugs and Foods program would end pre-market safety reviews of novel animal food ingredients for livestock, thus be able to ensure that the meat, milk, and eggs of livestock are safe for people to eat. Activities would be limited to those that address imminent threats to the safety of human life. And at National Institutes of Health, about 24% of employees would stay on, with nearly all of whom would be asked to work without pay. Litigation would be postponed at the Justice Department. The Justice Department says it has a high percentage of activities and employees who would be required to continue operations during the government shutdown, but civil litigation activities may be curtailed or postponed in the event that they don't involve the safety of human life or protection of the property, according to the contingency plan released on Monday by the DOJ. Other operations that could be impacted during the government shutdown involve training of employees not covered under previous appropriations, as well as work done in the Office of Pardon and the Attorney and other similar services involving national security, law enforcement, or the criminal justice system responsibilities. As previous state reports stemming out of the 2018-2019 shutdown, they had to cancel as many 60,000 immigration hearings as a result of the lapse in funding. And the DOJ's updated contingency plan, however, the department noted that nearly all staff of DOJ's Executive Office for Immigration Review involved in processing immigration cases would be required to work under 45 and 47's national emergency issued with respect to illegal immigration. So that's like mostly what has happened, y'all. I need to hear from y'all. Are any of y'all federal workers or know anybody that is federal workers, or y'all have family that is federal workers that right now y'all not working? Right now y'all not working, or are some of y'all still required to be at work and not getting this pay right now during the shutdown? So I want to hear from y'all in the comments. It's all for this video. Es todos es finito for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.